So what's up everybody, Black Clover 325 fan translations are out. This chapter was interesting. It was quick, very action-packed. However, there was little implications as to an angel being mentioned. But again, this is the fan translation, so take it with a grain of salt. It's looking pretty bad for the cast members. I definitely think there's going to be like a divine intervention coming in, and then we might see angelic beings or divine beings. Also, I would talk about the foreshadowing of Lucifero that was kind of overlooked. It's pointed out to me by a viewer, so I'm definitely going to shout out to them. So let's get into my Black Clover 325 review. First of all, if you like anime, manga reviews, discussion, spoilers, and theories, definitely hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, comments, I read the comments. I'm doing my best to reply to all of them. And just to remind you, I did get false copyright strikes by 𝙲𝚙𝚙𝚑𝚝. So if you're seeing this video and you think I booted you from the channel, I didn't. It's just that I'm literally restarting the channel all over again. So basically, Black Clover 325 was interesting in a way that there was a lot of context in the chapter that made me think twice of what's going on, especially towards the end. The beginning of the chapter basically starts off where 324 ended. It came off a hype because we got to see all four of them get together, but it's crazy how literally in a few pages everything just goes down the drain. Asta chooses to fight with the 𝙲𝚘𝚙𝚎𝚑𝚝 katana. I've been talking about it for a while that Asta was going to go and use that katana in the Devil Union, and that might have been the advantage he needed to fight against Lucifero. But this chapter completely shuts down that theory I had, because even with the 𝙲𝚘𝚙𝚎𝚑𝚝 katana, Asta's just not able to really hurt Lucifero. I thought the 𝙲𝚘𝚙𝚎𝚑𝚝 katana will make him faster, like in Bleach, but we see it here and it looks like it makes his strikes a little bit slower. When Asta was doing the Infinity Slash for the first time, when Lucifero was incomplete, when he was just a giant slug, it took him a long time to actually slash it. That's just my observation. It might be wrong. Obviously, somebody might have interpreted it differently, but that's what I got. Asta in Devil Union is basically nullifying the child's playground magic that Not and Yami had. So Asta, without him even knowing, anti-magic is just flowing out of it. I'm guessing because the child's playground is more of an area effect type of attack that it would be affected by Asta's Devil Union. I will talk about foreshadowing with Lucifero, something that was pointed out by a viewer. I didn't really pay attention to it when Asta was fighting Dante, but it was actually implied that Lucifero was going to be a brawler. I was saying in the spoiler videos that I wasn't really too keen on Lucifero being a brawler. It just didn't make sense to me, but now it does, because if you look at Dante when he was fighting Asta, he actually stomped Asta to the ground when he went in berserker mode. It's like somewhat foreshadowing on 𝙗𝚘𝚘𝚝 part that Asta was going to get the same treatment when Lucifero actually came to the real world. I found that really cool. Another thing that kept being mentioned in the comments is that Lucifero can't do the devil language because he doesn't have the spell book. I understand what you guys were trying to say. You were saying that the reason why he's not doing the devil language spells is because he doesn't have the grimoire. However, some of y'all worded it a little bit weird.